Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Let us start this meeting. First order is to review and approve the minutes of July 12th and then the continuation of July 26th. I will presume everyone has had a chance to read those minutes. Were there any comments?
I have
Scott?
a small correction.
Yes.
Doug is identified as a trustee on my page 2 here. We were doing the warrants. Good catch.
Okay, so we'll,
he's identified as the treasurer later on.
yes. Okay, so under, Lori, did you hear that? On the second page of this, under the treasurer's report, the next to the last bullet point has trustee Bugey instead of treasurer. Was that the only one, Scott?
Yeah, that's the only
That was the only one. Okay, thank you. Thank you for catching that. Were there any other? If there are no other, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Moved by Scott,
Second.
second by Tara, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, check that one off. The next order of business is review and approve the payment of bills. We will deal with the payroll warrant first in the amount of $10,533.30. There is nothing unusual or different in this. It includes the monthly AFLAC payment, the withholdings for employees, and the tax payments for the village.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Ray has made a motion to approve,
I'll second.
seconded by Tara, all in favor? Aye. The next one is the expense warrant. This is in the amount of $136,119.88. And Doug has a couple of comments he would like to make.
Yep, so the higher amounts, I'll go over those. 5,000 for Bennington County Regional Commission is part of the annual allocation approved from the last budget. The 10,000 to the McCall Library falls under the same. Those are allocations. This is their first payment. Love Cody and Company, 13,500. That was for an audit. We will be recovering 50% of that from the water department, as part of that audit was from them. And the remaining funds are fully covered by the audit reserve fund. So that will be transferring from the reserve to the main account to cover that. The next two items that you're going down on the list, McCullough Library, 56,190.25. That is an ARPA advance that is fully funded through ARPA funds. Same with the parent rec at 43,000. Those were amounts that had been approved at prior meetings. They're now being paid out, and those funds are directly from the ARPA accounts. Other than that, there's everything else is the normal monthly bills. There's actually really nothing out of the ordinary. There was no late warrant. Everything that we had paid in July came through fine. So this is a normal office warrant. Like I said, with the bulk of that being ARPA funds, almost 100,000 coming from.
I'm sure.
Anybody have any further questions?
I'll make a motion.
I have one
Wait,
question.
Tara has a question. Yes, Tara.
What do we pay Butch Robinson for?
That is for hay
Hay
bales.
bales.
Yes,
Oh,
annually.
Do we
Hay
buy hay?
Norm does that for the highway department. Norm could probably chime in, but it's an annual thing that we do.
Okay, probably for laying seed or whatnot.
No.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Norm.
It's for the park, for the lighting on Footing Hill. That's, we just have to get it early before they put it in the barn, and
Yeah.
so
I got you.
but that's pretty much,
The sliding bumper.
Thank you, Norm. Scott had a question, Scott?
Yeah, on the Bennington County Regional Commission, is that like a membership fee or?
This is an annual amount that they do bill all the municipalities for their support, for the
Okay.
support that they provide.
So this is the full payment or?
Yes, this is the full payment.
Oh,
I apologize. Bennington Regional was full.
yeah.
We are paying it now. They may, Lori, keep your eye out. They may send a bill, so we just won't duplicate it.
And what are we paying Dufresne?
Dufresne is some engineering work on the Overley Road culvert. This is eventually part of a grant. It will be reimbursed to 80%.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Ray, does your motion still stand?
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Thank you. We now move to, the order of the day is the fire department truck. Thank you for, Doug, go ahead. You want to go ahead? You worked on this analysis, so.
Yeah,
You
so
first.
so the email, that was sent out prior, outlined everything that we had gone through and discussed. I can go into further detail if anybody has any questions. The basics, the nuts and bolts is what we had discussed. So the purchase price will be the purchase price from Bulldog less the amount of the reserve, which as of now is projecting at 130. The financing piece will be the difference, of which the financing has no prepayment penalty. So once the fire department sells the truck for how much ever that's sold for, that applies to the principal of the loan to reduce the principal of the loan. The payments that we're looking at, again, the final numbers haven't received that on the prior Friday, so the bank is still looking at it, would be 1/10 of the remaining principal for 10 years, accrued interest each year. So the payments would be going down.
So let me ask you this, was there only a 10-year or could we do less than 10 years?
You could certainly, there's 5-year option.
But we could, since there's no prepayment, we could take the 10-year loan and pay it out on
Correct.
7 or 8.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's no prepayment penalty.
Okay.
For budget purposes, to try to keep things in line, the 10 is what everybody has asked about.
Okay.
We can certainly set it up at a shorter one if we wanted to. The bank gave those options. They're reviewing the final proposal now because the initial was
Okay.
not the final proposal.
And the reason I asked that is that the 50-year analysis that I had sent out to trustees assumed that that was not a 10-year payout. But the amount still should be in there. Okay.
the 50-year analysis,
Yes,
that's not this spreadsheet.
I sent this one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is
Yes.
this spreadsheet.
There might not be 50 numbers on this page, but I think there are.
So you assume that
Yes.
it's not a 10-year payout.
Right.
They paid it out
But-
faster.
But yes, but regardless, that payout will come out of the operating budget each year. This
You've got
analysis,
$30,000.
right, this analysis that I did says that we can in fact purchase this new vehicle for the price less the $100,000 give or take trade-in, $100,000 for this analysis, since that's what we're told. We can in fact do this, raise our reserve to $30,000 starting this next budget year.
Okay.
And then subsequent trucks can be fully paid for except this current vehicle that you're looking at now.
Yeah.
This one would have to be borrowed against, or it would have to be held an extra few years. And the next vehicle, the one that's coming up next, that may need to be held for an additional 3 years.
So
And if we do
that's
that,
what you're showing us.
yes, if we do that, we can fully pay for subsequent trucks and always pay for the pickup truck thing. So,
So you're showing in 2031 or 2030 going from 30,000 to 35.
yes.
And you make adjustments periodically.
Periodically, we have to increase that.
costs.
But if you're also making a 10-year payout on this and increasing this, you know, it would be nice to say, as soon as we paid it off, we
Right.
could bump up that reserve. That would be the hopeful thing, but I didn't, and that's what I did with the 35, but I didn't think, again, this is a plan, this is aspirational, but it shows it can be done.
Correct.
And that's, to me, the important thing. It can be done.
Yeah, I would agree.
And we have a plan to do that, but it does always require a little bit of give and take, because we may get to that year and it's not like 20 years and everything falls off a cliff. It may go to 23. Depending on how things go, it might be 18 if there's something significantly wrong. But then we adjust this and
So-
then we borrow.
You don't actually show the annual payment.
No, because the payment comes out of the operating budget. This is,
Okay.
I'm showing reserves.
So this is a capital,
This is a
analysis.
capital plan.
and so we're putting 30,000, say 30,000 this year into the reserve, and then in addition, there's a payment, or well,
There
actually
is.
not this year, next year.
Right.
There's next year, but I'm suggesting that being good stewards, we should include that so that we have that escrowed this year.
Yeah.
I would not personally be in favor of incurring a debt and shoving that payment off without even budgeting for it until next year.
Right.
Which means that just this fire truck alone is a 4% increase in the overall rate. It's an 18% increase in the fire truck
Yeah.
budget, but it's 4% just for the truck. That said, the tax rates are gonna be higher than that because there are other things that are coming down the pike, but it's a
This
good.
is just the fire department's capital.
This is just the, I don't see right now any need to increase other reserves for other capital expenses.
Mhm.
But when we do, we are going to, continue this meeting so that Doug and I can work on the amount that needs to be raised by taxes. But to
Right.
do that, we have to have the grand list from Bennington, which we don't yet have.
Okay.
So
So
I still,
We have other capital needs.
we do, and
So
there's
like the
other
highway
needs,
department has-
sure, and there's just other operational needs.
Yep.
Our fuel is gonna double,
Yes.
but it's not a bad trade-off, in my opinion, if we know that we can pay future ones.
Yeah, right. I got the
Yeah.
point. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it,
So,
it needs to be not just the fire.
no, it will be,
Vehicle.
it
needs
will
to
be a
every
significant
significant
impact.
purchase. Yeah.
on the tax rates. It will be. But what's the option?
More interest.
More interest, yeah. And to me, that just kicks the can to somebody else,
Even though our interest rate at the moment is fairly low.
fairly low, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
you know, that's
may not
a
hold up.
decision that can be made later on.
Okay,
And I'm only using in that 4%, the 12,000 that Doug put on this analysis.
okay.
If we decide we wanted to pay it off at a higher rate. My initial analysis had 15.
Okay.
So, anyway, any other trustees' questions on the truck?
I just, ran numbers that are on this page. So the truck itself is 345,000.
Mhm.
Yes, that's the current.
And then we're getting 12,000, about 12,500 of options. So The total purchase price will be around $357.50.
358, yeah.
$358.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tara,
No.
questions?
No, this is
Ray,
very
questions?
complete. Thank you.
Questions?
Nope.
Anyone ready to make a motion? Or do you need other discussion? Has,
We've been
Has,
discussing this for a
Do we
long-
have any discussion out there?
yes,
there, yeah.
I assume you're all in favor of this.
Certainly this side.
I'm in favor of the budget going up. Truck sinking fund is great, because it has to go, it hasn't gone up in many years.
Correct.
So, that thing is, I'm just not really, you got a truck that's in really good shape, I think they should keep it a couple more years,
Mhm.
and then buy a truck.
I-
They can bring
yeah.
their sinking fund up.
I will tell you, I did an analysis, several different scenarios in different ways. And then there is a point where you're running up to too few years between the two trucks needing to be replaced. And I really couldn't make it work all that well.
Right.
So there's,
Yeah.
you're getting
I
rid of
could
the
make
truck
it-
that's got
yeah.
nothing wrong with it.
I could make it work, but then we get into unknowns, and you have to make enough assumptions in doing these capital plans as to what your next vehicle might be and what your replacement might be. I don't include an interest rate in here because who knows? I mean, we do make some money on our reserve, but it's not enough to move the needle. So I did try to make it work by pushing it out 3 more years. It could have, but there were other implications to that.
There's a big jump on the taxpayers that, you know,
Yeah.
you're looking at, you said 18%.
But no, that's only on the little tiny slice that's the fire department rate. It's 4% overall. Then the other flip side of that is that I also looked at, if we did this, likely we would want to put a significant increase in for having it overhauled or repaired.
Yep.
And so those things sort of offset each other.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's a big increase for the
It is.
taxpayers. You don't know what we're getting into this year. We have war next week. We don't know with Russia, all the stuff going on.
That is true, and we can only deal with what we have in
I'm just
front
not
of
in
us.
favor of it at all.
Okay,
I'm in favor of
okay.
that we should.
I thank you for your comments, because this is what this is about. You know, the public should be here weighing in. And it's not that one person's opinion matters more than the others. We all matter individually. So thank you, truly, for coming out and speaking up.
Well, like I said,
Okay.
these guys aren't taxpayers from North Bennington, but I am. And for me, they're getting rid of what they want, and they don't care about the tax rate, because it's none of their business.
Oh,
But for me, as a tax
Okay.
owner, it is my problem, it's our taxes going up, but I like to see them stay neutral. The tax keep them low, and you know what? It's not gonna happen.
I can also tell you that the trustees put a lot of time and effort into setting our rates, and we look at every other possible option where we can adjust. And there may be other things within the fire department that we can flex for a year or two because of this.
We need to do some flexing because.
so we can
tax
see.
increase.
The other thing though too
Thank
is that 3 years from now, we have the same opportunity. And what will that truck cost?
Right.
3 years from now.
Well, I mean,
Again.
we go up in price.
It's crazy right now.
Okay. But thank you for your comment.
There is a fire department tonight discussing 5-5, so they may be coming to you sooner so that you know that's. So the fire department that's.
I don't know what,
Meeting tonight.
okay.
Is that the other
Interpret, I
truck?
don't know what that means.
That's the other truck?
That's the.
The one you're selling, you
The one
mean?
we're selling.
Oh,
They're
okay,
gonna have a meeting tonight and discuss it.
okay.
Not this fire department, another
They're
fire
interested-
department.
They're interested
Okay.
in purchasing?
That's all good news.
Anyway,
I thank you for your comment. Are there any other public comments? Jenny?
I'm just curious, is there, I think when we were after the same meeting in the spring, earlier this year, there was some discussion about fundraising support. Guess I'm putting on for my roundtable back here. Is that still, I mean, is that something that, or do you need fundraising support or talking with this plan, or is it different?
I think at this
No,
point,
he's not
Jenny,
different.
we're looking at the village budget and the village liability. And should something happen in the future and gifts or donations be made, they are more than welcome to be made. And that will all help. And such thing we met, depending on if and when it ever materializes, maybe that's the opportunity we have to pay down the debt a little quicker. Thank you. Okay. Let me be mindful of the time set for this, so.
So we're seeking a motion.
Yes,
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the the demo truck that we saw last week for the cost of $358,000. Do you need me to say anything else?
that's it.
I would,
Do you want, Doug, you would like to add?
I
Put
would,
in
I would,
financing.
yeah, I would ask that, I'm just kidding, I want to get the exact amount, that you put in, if you're willing to, put in a motion, in your motion, financing up to, I'm just looking for my email to get the exact.
130. Well, that's what
No,
this
it's the,
says.
it's the higher.
It's higher because it doesn't include trade-in.
I think I do, Doug, here. Hold on. I try to color code things so I know where they are. Here, try to look at this one. Was it in here?
So it'd be
Yes.
financing at 230.
So the up to, financing up to 228.86, so 228.086.
Did you hear that, Lori?
We can get this to you.
Just, Tara, text me the amount. I heard everything, but I'm not clear on the financing up to.
Okay, say it again.
228.86.
Yeah.
That would be up to that amount for financing.
So if I can paraphrase, then the motion is to approve purchase of the Bulldog, piece of equipment, that we saw, and include financing up to $228,056,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, that's my
And then do
motion.
we need to put the rate in? Or not?
No, because we don't have the motion with the financing up
Up
to.
to,
Once that comes, then the trustees need to approve that, which.
The loan.
the loan
Email.
document will be separate, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor.
A second?
Seconded by Ray, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We shall sign this and get this back to you. I may do it tomorrow. We've got a very full agenda, but we'll get that.
Yeah, we can communicate, I'll get everything from there.
And I'd like to just verify with Doug that I'm signing the way.
Yeah,
Good.
yes.
Should we have included authorizing the chair to sign this? I think.
No, because we just approved to do this. The loan document is separate.
Right, that is separate.
We will bring that up in the next meeting, so we won't do that until, okay. Good, we got that. I just want to do, because we're a little running out of time on this one, we are out of time. But let me just make a very quick note that the heating system update, we've had 2 people come look, don't have the second quote to separate the domestic hot water from the heating system itself. We do now have 2 options of having energy audits done. I will ask, and actually I'm going to delay this until later in the meeting, but I will ask trustee approval to have builders installed products audit all 3 of our buildings at the same time. They're gonna make a whole day of it, and that would be next Wednesday. And then once we have that audit in hand, it will help anyone doing the subsequent heating system proposals, and it will put us in line, if not for the firehouse, these other buildings with the funds that are coming from the H518 state bill, which is money specifically earmarked for municipal buildings moving from fossil fuel to alternative heat solutions. And I have 2 people supposed to call me back on pellet mill systems for the firehouse. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And Ray, thank you so much for your time and your expertise with that second
Pretty slim on that.
we have.
but
Ed,
Concepts I'm good at.
The hot water is gonna be,
pardon?
hot water.
We're still waiting for those, for the quotes to come in.
So that is.
That's a separate project. As soon as we can do that, there's not gonna be any funding for that. Numerous people have told me that that system should be able to put in for about $2,000 or less.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Of course, there will, because the location of the unit, once it goes in, can't be possibly the
Yeah.
boiler is.
There may
will
be some electrical
and
work or
plumbing
something. Yeah.
issues.
But the unit itself is less than $1,000. So we can move on that. Anything else from the fire department? Before we move? No, before we move on. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll get back to you. Okay. Norm, you're up. Sorry about the 3-minute delay.
I'll shoot you an email.
That's all right. So I'm gonna be quick. Won't use a lot of time. The couple projects that we have had, we scheduled, the guardrail is the last thing in the park. They were gonna do it last week. They had a couple minutes, but they had a truck breakdown, so they ended up not coming. I have dig safed all the other, parts of it, the guardrail that we're gonna put on Park Street. So that's all been approved and they know about that. That's pretty much it. Just regular maintenance and, just plugging along.
The depot roof, I know you sent out an email, but have you heard when the sculptures are gonna be moved?
I was told today within 2 weeks they'll have to be done, but they'll send me an email for the piece. It's only the one in the front.
Okay.
They were gonna work on the roof last weekend. It was just too hot for them guys.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
They're scheduled for this weekend. They're gonna do the 3 sides around the back and wash it. They might come back Sunday and coat it. I don't know really how their deal is, but we'll know. We'll have at least a week ahead of time to get the sculpture off the front, and then it'll have to be put wherever Joe wants to put it, and then it'll be moved back.
Okay. All right, thank you. Oh, hold on.
Norm, this is Doug. Before you go, I just want to tell you thank you for all that hard work you did for that fundraiser. And I see the beards coming back in already.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was a long day, but it was well.
And also, thank you so much for being involved with the Kids Day, with the police event, the Bennington Police Department event. I don't know if that was a day camp or whatever that you did last week, but thank you. Thank you so much for representing the village and donating your time for the kids.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. You can stay or you can go.
He's muted.
All right. We're now a little ahead of time.
And I don't have too much, so I think that's just probably up pretty close to where we're at. So treasurer's report, we talked about the warrants already, so that's all set. The cash balance report, there's, again, same thing as the warrants, there's not a lot of change there. So there's not much to talk about. Nobody had responded to any questions. If there is any questions, certainly I'll entertain those. The other two items, that I have, we have begun to get new credit cards for both Norm and Lori, with limits that are more reasonable to the times that we are in, and well within policy and procedure for their purchasing power. And that is being done through Community Bank, who partners with First National Bank Omaha, which is one of the larger credit card companies in the U.S. So that process is well underway, and I talked to Stacy at the bank today. She said usually within 7 to 10 days from what we did today. Everything squared away.
Is there a debit card feature with that?
No, so this is
No,
strictly
just
to replace
credit.
the old
Okay.
people's
Okay.
ones. Yes, and there's no link to any of our accounts.
Okay,
So this is, the bill comes in, if Norm and Lori happen to need to make a purchase, the bill comes in, we have the invoice, we pay it.
okay.
And then obviously there's no interest charge because we pay them monthly. So yeah, this is not a debit card linked to any particular.
Okay.
Delinquent tax update, we have just one parcel that is currently delinquent. The owner of that parcel has been making somewhat regular, somewhat sporadic payments, but there is contact with the property owner, and some headway has been made. But again, the good news is we only have one delinquent village tax parcel at this point in time.
Okay.
And that's all I
ACH
have.
payments, do you want to mention?
Oh,
You're
yes.
going to work on that?
Yes, also, we are working to repurpose what was labeled the Highway Department PR on the cash balance, which was the Highway Payroll Department. Now that we switched to pay data, that account is not doing anything. So we are going to repurpose that account for EFT and ACH payments, things like Comcast, Green Mountain Power. One, to eliminate bills getting lost, delinquencies because they didn't receive a check on time, things that everybody deals with right now. And also to save on us having to cut as many checks as we do every month. So it'll be easier for Lori, it'll be easier for the treasurer. The warrants will go down as far as how many checks we cut.
Right.
All these items will still show up on the warrant because they're paid bills, but they'll just be paid electronically as opposed to us physically cutting a check.
And we'll
These-
have security because we'll only be able to fund so much on that account.
Correct.
It's not like there's, somebody can dive in and get to the whole nut.
And that's exactly why we're repurposing that account. We're not giving anybody our main operating account. So if something were to ever happen, God forbid fraud happen, the account will have a minimal amount in it so it can be shut down very quickly and there would be no access to any other account. So
Perfect.
that's why that account is being repurposed for that.
Thank you. I think that'll make your life, Lori's life, those who get phone calls that their phones are going to be disconnected, it should help make everybody's life easier with that. Thank you ever so much for doing that.
So,
Okay. Any trustees have questions for Doug?
No.
No. All right, let's move along. Yay, now we're ahead of time. Did Lucy dial in yet?
No.
Okay, so Lucy's not here yet.
Is DRB
I will
on?
acknowledge, for Lori, Tara, for the minutes for Lori.
Yeah.
Nick DeSorda is on Zoom.
Okay, I think she can see that.
Okay, I wasn't sure if
Okay.
And
put it
she's,
down.
she's
So-
nodding.
All right, so we had, the agenda had the website previews for this slot. We're gonna move ahead because she's not here
I'll
and
let
we
you
will
know.
watch, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Do you have her email?
Who? Lucy?
Lucy?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see whether?
Yeah.
She tried or couldn't or whatever? Because we can do her later, and if we need to, we can delay this until our continuation. Just real quick, I want to, the next thing is we thought we had a couple of event approvals that were going to be needed. One was, the Pangea and Powers have a little parade and grand opening on August 21st from noon to 3. Originally, there was going to be a request to have, what do you call it? Like a beer tasting or something on the property, which would have required with the new ordinance, it would have required approval of the board. And then Nick, are you on? Nick, if you want to say something, jump right in.
Nope, we're just wanting to make sure that it's all good in the town. We were thinking about doing a little beer garden outside and everything, but given the fact that it's noon to 3, we wanted to kind of keep that corralled to the inside the restaurant and the places that we can already go. But we do want to block off the Prospect Street and Main Street, which we talked with Ed and the fire department, which they're fine for.
Yes.
And make sure we're all good with that.
Okay. Well, then this is pretty much informational for any viewing public and for the trustees that we, speaking for this body, we are in full support of the picnic and the events, and you will see us there for sure. So thank you, Nick, for doing that. Can't wait to see
Wonderful, thank
see
you.
what goes on. All right. The second event that I wanted to mention, and I believe this was already sent out already, but the UCS is going to be doing a suicide awareness vigil on September 8th at 6:45, and they're going to float lighted lanterns on the lake. This is run through Lake Perrin, so it really isn't something we need to approve, but I thought it might be wise to bring it to the board. And Ray, you alerted us that such a thing had already been done in the past, so it's not unheard of.
No.
What was the date on that?
It is September 8th at 6:45. And there's likely to be, music or something else going on, so.
Did they give us a plan for how they're picking up debris?
I will ask that.
We did require them to clean up after their lanterns, although they are biodegradable, I have been told.
Well, they're paper.
Right.
The
I
wax, so it's not.
I believe this is in their plan, but I will verify that. So anyway, 2 events happening locally. Should be nice. DRB next. Do you have an update on DRB?
I can tell you that we met, and we met because we had to convene to extend an existing permit for a barn that was being built on Honeysuckle Lane. It had expired after a year. It was going to expire, I think, on the 23rd of this month, or last month. And it required DRB collecting information before we could approve it. There was a lot of discussion surrounding the barn and other issues that may or may not be happening with the property. But in the long term, we approved the extension of the permit because nothing had changed from the original parameters.
Okay, thank you.
That's for building a house.
Yes. You
A barn.
see this in the barn, but I would say if she can wait to get.
Yes.
Because I think this is what may have
Yeah,
thrown us
okay.
off.
Can you, Lucy, if you can hear us, we're gonna have you wait for a few minutes. We have a couple of other items to take care of. Probably won't take us any more than 15 minutes. And we can't get the owl for the public and project the screen at the same time. Okay. Let me just mention very briefly, the Planning Commission is going to be meeting regularly. We now are going to be meeting the 3rd Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the depot. So Wednesday, August 17th is the next meeting of that board. Minutes will be available and minutes will be on the website. The new website, which is coming, I promise. Water department, I have one quick update. Okay, this is number 5 on my list. The water department has one quick update. The water department is looking into the possibility of running a new main down Overley Road, and up towards 7A, and also an extension on Harvest Hills Drive. This was discussed with engineer Craig Jewett and Amy Galford and Richard Spees from the state at their last month's meeting. Members of the public were there. This is kind of a continuation of the whole PFOA matter. It's not covered under that legal settlement that was done, but there are state funds to do this. And even though the residents to be helped with that round are not within the borders of the village of North Bennington, they're still our neighbors. They still deserve good, clean water. And the water department, as they go through their analysis, they may come back to the board because it will be this board, because it will be the same situation as the water line expansion loan, that forgivable loan that they got for that project. So more to come, but that's all being looked at.
I have a question.
Yes,
Where would that begin and where would?
it will begin on Overley, like right by Overley and Matt Drive, basically, when that
Okay.
line went down Matt Drive. It'll continue there, over the railroad tracks, up towards 7A.
Okay,
And then it'll go over towards the lake from there to help those homes that are on there. I don't have a diagram. I'm just kind of like
okay.
thinking,
No, no,
remembering what I
it's-
saw, yeah.
It's not gonna go all the way to 7.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but there will be public meetings if this goes ahead.
okay.
So that's the update from the water department. Now, finally, thank you so much for the public for being patient. We are now recognizing our resident, Robert Novak, who wishes to address the board on a matter of, I think, speeding or some traffic issues. According to our new rules and procedures, Robert, you have 10 minutes.
I'll be very bad.
Well, you may use it.
Yes, Robert Novak, I'm the native of North Bennington, here, and moved back recently. And it's somewhat concerning because of my particular location on Main Street. It's a nice day, I have the door open, entertaining in my sitting room because of the traffic conversation has to pause and pause and pause. This is not only because large trucks, it's competing, it's not that attention to speed. So what I did is I went on and looked at Facebook, mentioned my concern, and I think I got 60 some odd responses, all except one saying they had the same issues. Oh, my street's the worst. Oh, my street is really the worst. So I think there are a couple of issues. For me, it's the tranquility, the noise issue. A lot of people think the safety issue, especially if they have children. And some people miss the issue of property values. Certain things, my street, Bank Street, used like it's like a freeway. I did rent the radar gun and did some analysis. It's almost a total disregard for the 25 mile an hour speed village. So my question to the board, what actions you're taking, I'll report it back on Facebook, and what the timeline is for those actions. I have seen some speed cars at various locations. I have observed them, I haven't spent a lot of time, but in no case have I noticed any vehicle slowing down on approach to those passing those. And so, and also the research says that they just have a passive influence. I've read. Also, the research I've read from a British source says that every 10 miles an hour slowing down the traffic. The volume is, the volume is cut in half.
Noise.
The noise, yeah, the noise is cut in half. So that's something from Britain. So I know that would help me. I have a friend here from Bank Street, and we have just a lot of issues. So I want to make sure that the board is taking it seriously. And so, but I'm also doing some research about how other villages have approached this issue. Most people seem to say it comes down to enforcement. Most people say that it comes down to enforcement.
Enforcement.
We-
By who?
Well, that's that's the thing. But I'm just voicing my concern to the board. That's all. And
I do have some things I can add to what is happening, but let me recognize Art behind you.
Well, it's probably about, I'd say 10 years ago, because I've done mechanics for a long time. Sheriff's Department used to take care of a lot of this patrol. I think we paid them to come here and patrol, and they gave us money for speeding tickets, a certain percentage of that. Well, anyways, Andy Hurley, who's a sheriff, he always parked right in front of my driveway. I gave him permission to. He would clock people from the top of the hill where the highway department is, coming down off that brow at 60 sometimes. Sometimes at the average speed between 45 and 50 coming down Mechanic Street. And he would nail them. And for some reason, they just stopped funding the sheriff coming over to do that. And eventually people slowed down. They knew if they're going on Mechanic Street, they're going to get a ticket. So, I mean, that's something to look into. Maybe getting the sheriff department involved with it again and see if they can. I mean, the Bennington PD, I work at the hospital as an engineer, and I hear them on my radio all the time. They are right out straight in Bennington with the problems they have down there. So it's very hard, and they don't have a lot of people either. It would be nice to have more Bennington police officers.
Someone was patrolling here today because I saw them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see my hand, but Art, that's correct. We did have a lot of luck when the sheriffs were in North Bennington. We need to remember that we had a grant. We had a grant for a couple of years to pay for that sheriff. It was awesome. And it did slow down the traffic a lot. It's incredibly expensive. To do it on our own and to say that the tickets, tickets being paid would pay for the sheriff didn't do it. And we've been there, done that, and it was successful. It was wonderfully successful. But I believe it was the cost to the taxpayers that after the grant ran out, after those couple of years, that was most difficult. And we're talking about a very large increase in the tax rate to support what you're talking about without the grant. But it was
another grant could be available.
Absolutely. I haven't looked into that at all. I don't know. But I do remember, I've been doing this for 32 years and, things that are brought up, generally we've been there, done that. And why aren't we doing it again? Well, generally it's a cost issue. But it was successful. I just want to make sure that we remember that it was successful.
I think we only had my part-time or like at nighttime, well, I'd say mid-afternoon or something to the night. I don't get them all day.
May I tell you what we are doing? Okay, so, one of the first things you have to do before you embark on other type of studies is you have to have a traffic study. We are in line with BCRC to do that traffic study. BCRC is the Bennington Regional,
Bennington County.
Bennington County Regional Commission. There you go.
Thank you. They are a wonderful resource for all of our towns. They will be, and once we have that traffic study,
They will help us develop a traffic plan. Okay? That traffic plan is necessary because we're gonna have the Powers reopening, we're gonna have some comings and goings around that intersection. Anybody that's come down by the library, you've gotta go clear across the walkway to see what's coming. So redoing that whole intersection, which is a main intersection into town, is going to be part of that. Now, you have to have the traffic study, then you write the plan, then you get the grant to pay for things.
Do we have any idea when this traffic study might be completed? Sorry.
I'm sorry, we have a member of the public and,
I suggest to do open source, that's all. I don't have anything else to say.
all right, thank you. Let me get back so we can keep this meeting here. So there are two other communities, when we talked to them a month ago or so, there were two other communities, two other municipalities that were doing their traffic studies ahead of us. So we need to be patient. Yes, it may be a couple more months. It may be 6 months before we have any of this done. It may be even longer to do this. Now, anecdotally, other people have told us that they believe that traffic thing does work. We will move that around. The board, when that was done by a year ago, the idea was, let's see if it works. If it works, we could look into having permanently mounted signs at certain places coming in to the village. But we had to start somewhere. Again, that was $8,000. We had it budgeted. We would have to look at doing something else that is budgeted. But the traffic study will happen, then the planning will happen. When that plan is there, open meetings to the public will happen, and anyone will be able to chime in and say what they want to do. Then we have to apply for a grant, because you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to redo one intersection without having a grant. So I know being patient isn't what people want to hear, but
I think it's positive stuff that they're working on.
it's underway, yes. And we did start it about a month ago.
Is that a townwide or is it just the?
No, it's gonna be a whole Main Street. We're gonna concentrate the first plan just on the whole of Main Street.
I know Main Street can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think they slow down by the old roller and get off. My wife has to Stuart Palms. And the cars, if there's a cluster of cars in that intersection, they go right between the gas pumps.
Yeah.
To get in there,
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
Well, you know, if you put a sign or a stop sign or a policeman on every corner, the one that it wasn't on, you'd still have somebody going. So we can look at this, we can tackle it the best we can. There's not gonna be a silver bullet. There's not gonna be a one size fits all. But we can keep working on it as best we can. And I'm so glad that there are people, members of the public, willing to step up and do this. And if a trustee wanted to get involved and take this on as a project, by all means, go for it. Can't have too much information. So, anything else you'd like to say? You brought this
Well, I
up.
just want to say that the traffic study as far as the intersection at the library is concerned, I think it's a great mistake. But I don't necessarily think that's going to solve the speeding problem, which is endemic.
Yeah, it is, and I hear it even where I live, but I don't know of a community that doesn't deal with it, but keep doing your research. Let's look at options. We can start with one project at a time. That's all we can do.
Park Street is a drag strip in the middle of the night.
You know, and that's why Park Street would probably not be considered for paving.
Well, Bay Street is problematic, given our.
So we're gonna look at our Main Street here. There are other options that we've talked about with the traffic plan that you can do, whether it's rumble strips or those other type of things. So all of this, but that has to be part of, you can't just whack a mole here and there with these things. You have to have a whole plan so that you can submit that for a grant. And that's our aim, is to do all these things, but not saddle unnecessarily taxpayers with hundreds of thousands of dollars in a project.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
Definitely, keep going. I applaud you for doing so.
Is there, I know you said if someone had a, take on a project, right? You know, it's permanently mounted speed signs,
Yes,
like, there be something that we can all put together and say, hey, we'd like to have 4 of them, you know, one on 67, one down there, and one on
absolutely.
County Street. So if we were able to raise the money.
Yeah.
and we
But
could-
you don't have to raise the money. I mean, it'd be nice if you did, but you don't have to. What I would suggest is get together, put together a couple of proposals that folks would like to see. We're gonna start our budget process this year early. And we're gonna try to take things chunk by chunk. And we will make them, they are public meetings, and we will encourage public to come and say, this is what I want. And we will look at how we can fund it.
Yeah, because even in Manchester, they had one little sign, and I'm like, oh crap.
I know.
You know, so I don't know, it's speed limit, you just driving wherever.
I know, and I like the one in Manchester because at Christmas time, it tells you if you're naughty or nice.
Can I interject? So we did buy the mobile unit for about $10,000. Each of those individual standing units is about $7,500. 7,500, yeah. So it's a little bit of a bite, which is why we went for the mobile one, so we could move it around.
Yeah, I think the mobile one is actually doing, I don't know what studies have had, but I think they're doing pretty well.
We've had a number of people tell us that they have. Again, it's not the silver bullet, but awareness. And the same people who drive through this village on their way to work or whatever, if they start seeing that month after month, people who want to abide will abide.
And enforcement is very useful. But I would also make the case for traffic calming infrastructure that makes it harder to speed, makes it easier to comply, and then we haven't got to worry about just the ones who are caught.
That's exactly what the traffic proposal will do.
Excellent.
And there was an old one done before, probably before I lived here. And that's exactly what it is. There will be several of those things that probably that will be included in this one. And maybe there's even more things. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
You think you might be able to ask the Bennington police if they could boost up morning patrols or?
I have been in contact, and right now, they are up to their living eyeballs
Yeah, I know.
in their own stuff. But they do patrol. I don't know that they have a schedule, but they do patrol.
I'm actually seeing more than zero, because it was
Yes.
zero up until recent. I haven't noticed more. I'm like, oh, hey.
When my wife's store gets robbed, that's when we get around.
Okay. I do need to move on. Thank you so much. I appreciate your coming by. Please continue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Citizen advocacy is necessary. You're welcome to stay and see our website if you want.
It'll be up.
It's gonna be on the internet.
Well, no, we're gonna try to project, yes, hopefully it'll be done, but that's what we're doing next.
Soon.
We are going to show anybody that's interested what our website
I will work
should
on
look
this.
like. Okay.
Ready.
How do we make Lucy the host?
On his.
Yep. I get it.
You did it.
Oh, you did it. Okay. So, for those of you who can see a screen, Lucy Roy has been working on developing our website and has just been so helpful and so patient as we do this and make a change and tweak this and tweak that. So what, it's Tara, myself, and Erin have been guiding Lucy and she guiding us through this. And we've asked her tonight to just preview what this site should look like. Do we need to turn off a light? We do have it projected on the screen for those in the audience here. Tara's gonna try to quickly turn off. No, oh, you got it. Oh, now we're in the dark, but that's okay, people can see. All right, Lucy, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been working on this website, and I'll just walk you through, and maybe I'll even make a video recording of myself doing a little walkthrough, and that can be shared around. And my email is always open for suggestions and comments. So this is the front page. The domain name will be villagenorthbennington.org, and that'll show up. You can just type it in and it'll appear. So this is our home page with links to the 3 most upcoming meetings, which are on the calendar. And this website is mainly functioning as a place to store important documents and meeting minutes and show the upcoming meetings. So these are all links and they bring us right to the website, to the calendar, sorry. But if we go into the Village Information tab, we can also get to the calendar, which shows a whole year's worth of meetings. So those will all be available there. So tonight's meeting is on tonight's little calendar block. And by clicking on the meeting, it gives you the Zoom link and the meeting agenda. So that'll always be there, an update for each meeting. And there's also little buttons here to add this meeting to your personal Google Calendar or Outlook calendar so that you don't ever forget. We also have the government tab, which stores annual reports and audit reports, as well as the water board reports. So that's the water quality report. And these are all links. So when you click on them, you get a PDF, which you can download to your computer. And we also have, rules and procedures stored here as well. The next one we have is the documents page. So this is where meeting minutes, zoning documents, and any forms you may need can be stored. So if you're looking for a zoning document, you can click on that, download it. Property tax information will be here. All the ordinances will be listed here, and the local emergency management plan as well. We also have a resource page. So this gives some information up here about where parks are located and how to use them, who to contact for permits. A better map is coming, working on that now. And then we also have some quick links down here to things around the village, schools, and offices that may be of interest. So everything will be stored here. And then finally, we have a contact us page. So this is where emails can be stored for specific people you might need to contact, as well as the committees. And we'll eventually, hopefully soon, have a little get to know the Board of Trustees with their personal emails or village emails as well. And we also have this Visit North Bennington tab, which is currently just acting as a nice photo gallery. So photos can be uploaded here. So people interested in the village can come and see how beautiful it is. And that's it.
So thank you, Lucy. We purposely, it's villagenorthbennington.org.
Yes, and it's not live right now, so that won't get you anywhere.
So there's a couple of things. We purposely started small because we're all new at this. So we are going to do what Norm calls the crawl, walk, run. We've got some things in here. We will add content as it becomes available. Much of this stuff, just the three of us have been putting in there, but we'll improve it as we go along. We will have, under the contact us, we will have 2 designated emails, an info at North Bennington, at villagenorthbennington.com, and there will be a treasurer at villagenorthbennington.com. .org, thank you. Good grief. So whoever is ever the treasurer from now to perpetuity will have the same email. The info at will be monitored by the chair. The clerk will also have the credentials to sign into that. And so therefore we will have some continuity no matter who is in what chair. We can then talk later about adding other specific emails if we feel that they are necessary. But the idea here is, the nice thing is there's a calendar. You click on the calendar, you can see the meetings up ahead, 48 hours or as much as we can in advance. You'll click on that and you'll see the agenda for that meeting. The minutes we have, and it's escaping me right now, but I know there's a the legal requirement. It gets a little late. The legal requirement when to post those minutes. So we will actually have draft minutes posted after a meeting, and then they will be replaced with the approved minutes further. What is in here now is anything that was already approved. I'll be listing some policies in there under the policies. So we'll have, for instance, Lucy, did I send you any there yet?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So we do have some in there. Some of our approved policies, and they're the ones that trustees have in your handy little gray binder. Doug will be putting a fair amount of stuff out there under the property taxes. As soon as we get that done, we'll have the document showing when taxes will be collected in person. We'll have other little, informational things in there. We will not have an ability for somebody to dial in here and find their own property tax bill. We will not have the ability for somebody to go onto our website and pay a bill. Questions, comments?
Lucy, it's beautiful. I can't wait.
Thanks.
So when does this go live?
This will go live as soon as Lucy and myself and Doug can coordinate and know how we're using the 2 new emails. Because we can't go live and say, go to without knowing how to find those emails and respond to them. But hope is Lucy's working hard on this. Let me also comment that Lucy has agreed, if we trustees wish, and I would, and in advance of voicing my support for such, but she would be available. So as we say develop minutes or had something to go on a calendar, we would email it to Lucy and she would put it in the proper place. The only thing is anything that we put up there, if it's minutes or agenda or whatever, it's going to go up in a PDF version. We're not putting Word docs out there because they're all too easy for anybody else to alter and edit. So Lucy is making it very easy for those of us on this board to add content. At some point in time, we will then coordinate with the Fund for North Bennington once we're live, so that there's only one place that's the repository of village emails. or village, documents.
Do we have the bylaws on the website?
It's going to be, I'm looking for them.
Okay, they're on the North Bennington.
Yes,
I mean, the
I know.
front.
So I want to do that. And then as we're working on various, like the planning committee is working on revising the zoning bylaws, all of those things will be out there. The plan, the plan that gets done every X number of years, that's going to go out here.
Okay.
So we're adding things as we can, but wanted to show you all to make sure that you're in agreement to go ahead, and we will plan to have this launched by or before our August meeting,
This is our August meeting.
or September. Good God. Thank you, Ray.
Did you say we were continuing?
We
this
are
meeting?
continuing this meeting, but I haven't gotten there on the agenda
Could we
yet.
potentially do it in our continuation, or should we wait?
No, 2 weeks won't give us time.
Okay.
It might, but it could be. We'll see.
I should have the emails tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Lucy.
And,
That is possible.
And what date do these documents start? How far back does this go?
Oh, we can make it go back as far as we can. I
But
think
initially it won't go.
No, initially, now we can keep adding some historical content
We'll
here. as
start
we
now
go
and
along.
go forward.
We're gonna start here and go
And then add-
forward,
Fill in
and we'll
backwards.
build back as we
But
can.
we're not going to try to do the whole history of the village.
I am not at this point. But when we get to the next point of new business, we've got some options. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Lucy?
Do we need to make any motions?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Informational. Beautiful. Lucy, it looks great. Thank you for your work, and hopefully we'll finish soon.
Yes, thanks for having me. My email can be distributed.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Thanks.
That was terrific.
Bye.
Okay. So we are now jumping back to our new business. We've had our citizen comments, good discussion there. Thank those citizens for being here. That was wonderful.
I have a question.
Yes.
Comment there.
Yeah,
Okay, so I did come here from traffic a little bit.
Okay.
I also came, I thought I heard rumors of people were talking about, zoning or, taking exception to zoning laws. Because, you know, where I live, and
yes,
I'm considering putting a garage up.
okay,
And with current zoning laws, it like just postage stamped me into a
okay.
thing, and then, you know, 'cause I stand in my backyard and look at my neighbor's garage, it was 2 foot from my property line, and the other garage is 1 foot from my property line, and on their property line, like right on the property line. And, you know, I was like, man, it was like, you know, just at a convenience, a garage in their, you know, same type of, you know, because I know people worry about aesthetics and stuff, and the historic value of the village and stuff.
So, the planning committee has reformed. The planning commission hadn't actually been meeting on a regular basis for several years.
Yeah.
But it is reformed, and the committee is doing a page-by-page review of the current zoning bylaws to see what maybe needs to update, change, not looking at it from the perspective of one particular project or one particular individual. But I would encourage you, now, nothing can be done without any proposed changes going to public meeting. So it's not like it's just gonna slide in there. But if you have a specific concern, please feel free to attend one of the, planning commission meetings. The next one is the August 17th at the depot at 7 p.m. Those notices will be in all of the places that we post things. And if you give me your email, I'll make sure that you get one.
Okay. All right, because I'm about ready to file a commit I was ready to file 2 commits, one for what I would like, one for that would actually be in the zoning laws, because I was trying to find, I found them going through the webpage now.
So I would say, put in your application, and they can see where it currently is, and that might provide, people some information as to how things ought to be reworded if needed.
Yeah, okay. I just know there's a lot of talk about trying to redevelop housing in town. and stuff.
There are 2 projects that are going on, but that has nothing to do, those individual projects are independent of the review that's being done by the planning commission. We're not, the planning commission is not tailoring any of their discussion to a particular project or a particular development.
Yeah, I just overheard people talking about it. I was like,
Yeah, there are 2 properties on Main Street
Yeah.
that hopefully will come back into being able to be inhabited.
okay. Sort of worried about my garage right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Sure.
And I'll give you my email.
Yeah, yeah. Jot it down there. I've got all kinds of notes. I know who's gonna promise. I should have it, I probably have it somewhere.
Probably.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, now we will get to our piece of. Yes, it is. Our piece of, and that is, the next thing I wanted to discuss is the storage of all of our records. It's kind of been a project that I think we've talked about before, and just in case you're Scott, I made you a copy. Ray, did you get, I made you a copy too, just in case you didn't get the email. But it's kind of come to a head because Jenny informed me that as part of their library renovation, came across a storage area that's no longer going to be available to storage, and it is a closet full of village records. So the village has to take them back. Well, we've talked before, I know Lori and I have, and Doug and I have, is if you go upstairs in the depot, there are years worth of boxes of old invoices. Those things do not have to be saved. They should be saved until an audit is done, and once an audit is done, they can be disposed of, recycled, I should say. So looking at all of this, came up with a proposal that the trustees, I'm just bringing it to attention today, nothing that has to be voted on or approved today, but just to put in your mind so that we can discuss it at another meeting, the possibility of having a trained librarian help us with developing a whole system for managing our records, retaining our records, digitizing our records, and then cataloging them so that they can be found at some other point in time. So we have that. I had some good discussion with Cassidy, who is and I know I'll say her last name wrong. Cocasco, who is the assistant librarian here at the McCullough Library, and had a nice chat with her. She's willing to do the project if we wished, and it would involve several of us working together. Because you can't leave it to one person to know what's what, but we would start by developing our policy, working through the statutory requirements on what has to be saved for how long, coming up with that chart, and then going through the records and sorting them to say this belongs in this bucket and this belongs in this bucket. And then somebody looking at those records, or a committee looking at those records and saying, this we keep, this we toss, this we do this to. Eventually, we have a website now, we can digitize these things. We can have cool historical stuff available for other people to see. And we can then save it securely in the cloud,
Yeah.
or on an external drive, or wherever we want.
Right,
And we have, working through a librarian, we would have the benefit of all the resources that a librarian has at their disposal should questions come up.
okay, so basically we need a subcommittee that works with her
Yes,
to first establish the rules.
yes. And I have done.
And we would have to approve the rules.
Yes.
No.
And I've done some preliminary work looking at VLCT sites and state sites.
Yeah, okay, so, but, certainly that would be useful for whomever from this board chooses to work with Cassidy.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting myself because I have, for the school, I think I need to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I should do it for the village as well.
Well, I am volunteering myself for this because I know just from my past 30 years in financial management and records management, I know from a financial perspective what we need and what we don't need.
Right.
So Doug and I volunteered Doug.
And
He readily agreed.
so that's more cut and dried than some of the other.
Yeah, and Lori?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that even though I don't have any time, when school starts, I will make the time because it's really important that I'm involved because I'm the one that's asked for the records. For example, I was just asked for records from the water department last week that were many years old, and I was able to produce those, but it's not always that easy. So, what tossed, etc. So, I mean, even if you drop boxes off at my house, you know what I mean? I can go through those.
Well, the idea would be that things are not discarded until they're fully vetted.
Correct.
They may be sorted, but not discarded.
Correct. So, and we've gone through this process, not to this, you know, not digitalizing them, but we've gone through this process several times and had a semi-organized record keeping system. But then but it's not, it has not been, it's been open to whoever thinks they need to find something. So we now have no system. So.
Right. When it comes to cataloging these things, I think, Lori, you're going to be a key person to help with that.
So,
because nobody else has ever been asked for one, other than at audit time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that there's probably 25 boxes upstairs of invoices that we just need to call Secure Shred to come in and dispose of. Because I know at one time, this was 7 years ago, Laura, you might have helped me do this. We went up there and pulled out box after box of records going back umpteen years, thinking we were gonna have to go and do an audit going back 10 or 15 years, and pulled all those things. Well, those audits are done and complete. There's no reason to keep a box of what you paid for your, electric bills.
Right.
I can't imagine how old these boxes of documents that Jenny has located are, because I've never put anything in there. They must be very old.
Jenny is here and she can, if you want to, okay.
So.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi,
Oh,
I think they're from like the 50s and 60s.
Oh, I thought so.
There's also a whole bunch of stuff from the Eagle Square factory that I think the Shaftesbury Historical Society might be interested in as well.
Sure.
But I think at some point in time, the librarian said yes, not thinking about the enormity of history. And, so we have this very valuable closet space that we're looking at and going, why is that there? So we're not an archive, but I'd like to volunteer my expertise in helping with your database searching, your keyword development. If I can help in that capacity, to set up capacity to,
Yes.
to help.
Wonderful.
support that. Because the cataloging, digitization, preservation, how to keep paper in good shape for a long time.
Yeah.
I have some of that in my background. So,
Yeah.
you know, happy to lend expertise, but I'm not going to sign up for the job.
Yeah.
So,
And Cassidy did say that she would research the proper software that we would need to do this, the proper type of scanner we would need to have for this, and she would work with Lucy then as the best way to get this onto the website. And she seemed to have a bit of expertise in that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a lot of confidence in her.
Yeah.
Because it's not a one-time and done. It's
No.
an ongoing process.
No, it is an ongoing process, but once we go through the mountain and we've eaten 3/4 of the elephant, then we can develop a good checklist for what to do with everything that we're looking at right now.
And an expiration date.
Yes,
So,
And you'll have the tools, the scanner, et cetera.
Yeah.
Or somebody will have.
Yeah.
So.
So-
Will the library have the tools?
no, we will have to do this.
We'll have to.
Yeah, we have to do this.
but yeah, I don't think we even have room for a workstation for that sort of thing.
No, we can do this.
Yep, files, come get them.
Yeah.
And happy to help with the setup.
All right.
But, and if you need like equipment research, we're good at this stuff.
How imminently do you need the boxes taken out?
Like they said.
Whenever it's convenient for you, like the stuff.
The school has done its part.
Yes.
We will-
Ours goes lovely. I found some
Yes.
lovely photos.
Yes, I'll have that out before the end of the month.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm done with camp after this week, so if you want me to help boxes, just tell me.
Okay. We'll have it done.
How many
Thank you.
boxes does the village have?
A closet full.
It's a truckload.
Like a pickup truck? Or
Yeah.
like a box truck?
Well, yeah, it's a closet.
Okay.
And it's full.
We have the village truck and Norm will help us do that. We may need a few other people. We're not gonna ask Norm to move everything, but he will help us use the truck, deliver the truck over here, and we'll figure it out.
I'll see if I can give you a date on the ladder in front of the closet.
Okay, okay,
Out of the way.
okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jenny.
All right, the only other matter that I had that was old business. Anybody have anything else under new business?
Okay. I'm sorry. Are you done, citizen?
No, if you have another one, go ahead.
Oh, sure. On the library's website, we've just begun, the community survey bit of our, 5-year plan. So if you go onto either our Facebook page or our website, or stop by for a printed form. 5 questions, 5 minutes to help us plan the next 5 years. It's really a pretty easy survey. We'll be collecting those results until October 1st. And we're just hoping our goal is to get at least 200 responses.
Can
Okay,
you
so-
share it to the North Bennington Facebook group from?
Yes, I think we did over
Okay,
last
yeah,
week. But yeah, it's out there. It's the one with the rabbit
ears, like, we're all ears. We want to hear it. So let us have it. So, thank you.
Your day, opening day?
So we had hoped that we would be August 24th, and right now things are undefined. So
I heard the governor.
I'm hoping for a governor's proclamation,
Oh,
and we'll have some military.
oh,
Let's
nice.
see if, yes, so,
But we don't have a date.
no date as yet, so, you'll know.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
No.
Yeah, it's, I wish it were otherwise, and I could give you more concrete info, but things being as they are, it's been a funny city, so, yeah. But thanks for your patience.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Seeing no other new business, I had only one thing to mention under old business, and that was that notice of appeals that I sent to everyone, because I don't know whether action is required from the village. That's that. So some people may have been involved in this before. I don't know.
That's for the.
Yes, the Pullmans, the Pullman grain.
Right.
Pool.
So,
I have no idea. Matt or Tara,
Are the only two that actually were on the board at the time. To the best of my knowledge, Poolin applied to have extended hours and
there were some granted.
and the local neighbors were opposed to the majority of them,
Okay,
which is probably why there is kind of a middle ground found.
okay.
I don't know.
Do you know whether this body has
Is
any,
it seemed like Poolin was appealed.
a Pullman is appealing?
They want more hours. They
They want
didn't, they
more.
didn't get what they asked for. They
Right.
got a medium
Right.
response.
So what do we have to?
That's what I'm trying to
respond?
find out. Do we have any obligation to do anything?
Is Rob Wilmington still the village attorney?
No.
It's his organization though, right?
Merrill Vince is our attorney? No. Who is our attorney?
He's part of
Yeah,
Wilmington's.
Yeah, Stasny. No,
Campbell?
no, I know, yeah.
Jack.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that, if we don't, maybe Matthew can weigh in on this later. Or maybe Lori, you know. I
So,
mean, not necessarily.
Yeah, I think that Matthew took care of a lot of this, and I think Matthew will be able to answer this question.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
So
Okay.
I would wait for him to respond and ask him again if he doesn't respond quickly.
Okay, Lori, what is the appropriate process right now to now know that we are continuing this meeting?
So what you need to do is continue it to a specific day, time, and place.
Okay, so we will continue this meeting until 7 PM, Tuesday, August 23rd at the depot.
And then you'll need to include a Zoom link and.
Yes, but do we need a motion for that, or do we just
Yeah.
simply say it?
Yes, no, you need a motion to continue the meeting.
I make a motion to continue the meeting to August 23rd at 7 p.m.
Okay, and I
at the
second
village
that.
offices.
What is it?
What's the specific, what's,
So we can vote on the amount to be raised by taxes. That was yes.
okay, for the purpose of voting on the amount of money to be raised by taxes of the village taxpayers.
And there may be, since it is a meeting, an agenda will go out, and there may be something else that gets on that agenda, such as the website. Fine.
Actually, no. So what you're going to do is you're going to continue it as per Ray's motion. If you'd like to include the website, you need to say that now. And there's not an agenda that goes out.
Okay, then we will just simply continue this meeting for the purpose of setting the tax rate for 22-23.
Yep, that's
Thank you,
perfect.
Lori, for setting this straight. Yeah.
And we just
Okay.
need a second for that.
I'll do that.
I'll second that.
Okay, Scott did. All in favor? Aye. Good, done. Anybody else have any other business? Okay. 8:41, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Well, no.
No?
You already made your motion to continue the meeting. Do not adjourn.
That's
the
right.
meeting.
We
Okay.
are.
You're all done. You're all
We are
done.
just leaving. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Lori. What would we do without you?
Bye, Lori.
Bye.